Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Monday, November 25, 2024.
Russia accuses U.S. of provoking crisis in Asia. On November 24, 2024, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko claimed that the United States is using Taiwan to spark a serious crisis in Asia. According to Rudenko, reported by the TASS news agency, the U.S. is violating the One China principle by boosting military support for Taiwan, which recently included an approval of $567 million in aid. He argued that these actions aim to provoke the People's Republic of China and undermine stability in the region. These developments highlight the ongoing geopolitical tensions and the complex relationships among the United States, China, and Russia.
Netanyahu faces legal challenges amid ongoing conflict. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is facing significant legal troubles as the International Criminal Court, or ICC, has issued arrest warrants for him and former Defense Chief Gallant. These warrants stem from allegations of war crimes linked to the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which has lasted over a year. Netanyahu has denied any wrongdoing and has called the ICC's actions anti-Semitic. This legal situation coincides with Netanyahu's upcoming testimony in a corruption trial that began in 2020, involving charges of bribery and fraud. The humanitarian situation in Gaza remains critical, with reports of more than 44,000 casualties and widespread displacement of civilians. The ICC's involvement could complicate Israel's military strategy and negotiations with groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon. The political climate in Israel is tense, with fluctuating support for Netanyahu as the conflict continues. The implications of these events go beyond legal issues, impacting Israel's military operations, international relations, and domestic politics.
Protests in Islamabad for Imran Khan's release. On November 24, 2024, Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, was placed under a security lockdown in anticipation of protests by supporters of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Khan has been in prison since August 2023 on various charges, which he denies. The government blocked roads leading into the city and deployed large numbers of police and paramilitary forces to keep order. Mobile phone services were suspended, and gatherings were banned under legal provisions. Supporters aimed to gather near the parliament to demand Khan's release and the resignation of the current government, which the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party claims came to power through a rigged election. Previous protests had turned violent, resulting in the death of a police officer and injuries to many security personnel. This ongoing unrest highlights the deep divisions within Pakistani society and raises concerns about further instability in the region.
Settler violence against Israeli military in West Bank. On November 24, 2024, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu condemned violence by Jewish settlers against military officers in Hebron, a city in the West Bank. A group of settlers blocked the path of Major General Bluth and other officers, shouting insults. 5 settlers were arrested during the incident. Netanyahu's office emphasized that all violence against the Israeli Defense Forces must be addressed seriously. This incident comes amid rising tensions in the region following the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023. The situation underscores the ongoing challenges in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Trump's nominee plans major Bitcoin project. Howard Lutnick, nominated by President-elect Donald Trump as Commerce Secretary, is in talks with Tether, a major stablecoin company. They are discussing a $2 billion project to lend US dollars against Bitcoin, which could grow to tens of billions of dollars. Lutnick's firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, already collaborates with Tether to manage significant amounts of US Treasury securities. This project underscores the increasing connection between traditional finance and the world of cryptocurrency.
Hamilton's plan to clean Cootes Paradise. The city of Hamilton, located in Ontario, Canada, has revealed a new plan to enhance the health of Cootes Paradise Marsh and Hamilton Harbour. This initiative will cost approximately $7.5 million. The primary goal is to reduce pollution caused by stormwater runoff that negatively impacts local waterways. In July 2024, heavy rainfall led to sewage overflow into Cootes Paradise, underscoring the urgent need for action. The Royal Botanical Gardens, which oversees the marsh, has been working for years to restore its ecosystem. The new plan outlines 10 actions to be implemented over the next 3 years, focusing on protecting natural resources and improving urban infrastructure. Ultimately, the aim is to ensure that Cootes Paradise and Hamilton Harbour are no longer designated as areas of concern by the federal government.
Ontario proposes access to tenant orders for credit bureaus. The Ontario government has proposed a new plan that would allow credit bureaus to access landlord and tenant board orders for tenants who have unpaid rent. This initiative aims to assist landlords in identifying potential problem renters. However, advocacy groups are concerned that this could negatively affect low-income tenants by damaging their credit scores. The proposal seeks to streamline the tenant selection process while balancing the interests of landlords with the rights of tenants. Supporters believe this change will reduce risks for landlords, but there are worries about the accuracy of credit reporting and the potential misuse of tenant information. The implications of this proposal could significantly impact the housing market in Ontario, particularly for vulnerable individuals who may find it harder to secure housing if their credit scores are harmed.
Explosion at oil and gas facility in Dawson Creek. On June 24, 2024, an explosion took place at an oil and gas facility in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, Canada, injuring 2 workers. WorkSafe BC, the workplace safety regulatory body, fined 2 companies a total of $48,000 for safety violations linked to the incident. Key Energy was fined $6,000, while Secure Energy Services faced a $42,000 penalty. The explosion occurred during welding operations above a tank that held flammable chemicals. Inspection reports indicated that both companies did not follow proper safety precautions and failed to use adequate equipment to detect flammable gases or vapors. On the day of the incident, workers were installing safety chains above the tank when flames were seen coming from the shaker before the explosion happened. Emergency services transported the injured workers to the hospital. In response to the incident, WorkSafe BC mandated that both companies improve safety training and update their risk assessment practices. This event highlights the vital importance of following safety regulations in the oil and gas industry, particularly in areas like Dawson Creek, which is known for its significant oilfield activities.
Saskatchewan Legislative Assembly begins new session. The Saskatchewan Legislative Assembly is set to begin a new session on November 27, 2024. The New Democratic Party, known as the NDP, will hold 27 seats, the highest number of opposition members in over 15 years. The session will start with the election of a new speaker and a throne speech from the government, outlining plans for healthcare, education, and community safety. Tim MacLeod, the Minister of Justice, will discuss important issues and proposed legislation. The increased presence of NDP members may influence decision-making in the Assembly.
Community concert supports St. Monica's Church in Montreal. St. Monica's Church in the Notre Dame de Grace neighborhood of Montreal, Quebec, is facing serious financial difficulties due to a 30% drop in attendance and donations. This marks the first financial deficit for the church in 75 years. The decline in support is linked to a bike path installed on Terrebonne Street, which has disrupted local residents. In response, the community organized a benefit concert featuring local artists to raise funds and awareness. Joe Ortona, chair of the English Montreal School Board, attended the concert and expressed concerns about safety issues related to the bike path. A recent accident involving a school bus in front of St. Monica Elementary School raised alarms about these safety concerns. The community continues to push for changes to improve safety and support the church.
U.S. agency reviews Adani project in Sri Lanka. The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is reviewing a port development project in Colombo, Sri Lanka, backed by the Adani Group, led by billionaire Gautam Adani. This review follows serious bribery allegations against Adani and several other executives. The U.S. agency had planned to provide $553 million for this important project, which aims to improve Sri Lanka's infrastructure and boost economic growth. Allegations claim that Adani and others paid bribes to secure contracts that could generate $2 billion in profits over 20 years. The Adani Group has denied these claims, labeling them as baseless, and plans to take legal action. The outcome of this review may significantly impact foreign investment in Sri Lanka and could affect relations between the United States and Sri Lanka.
New drug withdrawal center opens in Toronto. A new drug withdrawal center has opened in downtown Toronto, Ontario, offering 36 beds for individuals seeking help with substance use. This facility features private and shared rooms, meals, and comfortable areas for relaxation. Counselors and nurses are available 24 hours a day to support patients. This center addresses the urgent need for detox services in Ontario, where nearly 2,600 people died from drug toxicity last year, mainly due to opioids like fentanyl. The opening is part of a broader effort to enhance addiction treatment in the region. The provincial government plans to close 10 supervised consumption sites while launching 19 new homelessness and addiction recovery treatment hubs, with a projected cost of $378 million Canadian dollars, about $284 million United States dollars. Demand for detox services remains high, with the center's beds quickly filling since it began operations in the summer of 2024. The facility's design aims to provide a sense of care and dignity, a significant improvement over previous inadequate environments for detox services. The ongoing opioid crisis continues to affect communities across Ontario, especially vulnerable populations like the homeless. This new center marks an important step toward providing essential support and resources for individuals struggling with addiction.
Iran to engage in nuclear talks with European powers. Iran is set to discuss its nuclear program with France, Germany, and the United Kingdom on November 29, 2024, in Geneva, Switzerland. This meeting comes after the United Nations atomic watchdog recently passed a resolution against Iran. The Iranian government aims to find a diplomatic solution to the nuclear issue, especially with the inauguration of President-elect Trump approaching in January 2025. The talks will include deputy foreign ministers from the involved countries and will cover both the nuclear program and regional issues, such as the situations in Palestine and Lebanon. The results of these discussions could have significant effects on international relations and global oil markets.
Freedom Party wins election in Styria, Austria. On November 24, 2024, the far-right Freedom Party won a significant victory in the state election in Styria, Austria. The party received 35.3% of the votes, while the Conservative People's Party came in second with 26.6%. This marks the first time the Freedom Party has won in Styria. The election results show increasing support for far-right politics in Austria. Notably, this is the first time since World War II that neither the Austrian People's Party nor the Social Democrats secured a win in this region. The Freedom Party will need to form a coalition with another party to create a government in Styria. These election projections highlight a shift in voter sentiment and raise questions about the future political landscape in Austria.
New funding model for climate action. A new approach to climate financing seeks to attract private investment for projects in developing countries. This method, called blended finance, combines public funds with private capital to create more appealing investment opportunities. At the recent UN Climate Conference, COP29, held in Toronto, Canada, experts highlighted the urgent need for increased funding. Catherine McKenna, a prominent figure in climate solutions, noted that government funding alone is not enough. FinDev Canada announced a target of 1.5 billion Canadian dollars, approximately 1.1 billion United States dollars, to support up to 25 developing countries. Last year, blended finance helped raise 18.3 billion United States dollars for climate projects, a significant increase from 8 billion United States dollars the previous year. However, Challenges persist, including the complexity of structuring these deals and the need for better data sharing to improve risk perceptions among private investors. Critics argue that relying on private markets may not adequately meet the needs of the poorest communities. The implications of this financing strategy are significant, as it aims to mobilize substantial private capital to meet the trillions of dollars needed for global climate action. The success of blended finance could reshape the landscape of climate funding, making it essential for governments, corporations, and communities to engage in innovative financial solutions to effectively combat climate change.
Canada's tree planting program faces challenges. The federal government of Canada has fallen short of its tree planting goals. For the 2023-24 planting season, the target was to plant 60 million trees, but only 46.6 million were planted. This ambitious program aims to plant 2 billion trees by 2030-31 to combat climate change. Since its launch in 2021, a total of 157.6 million trees have been planted. However, this figure includes trees from other initiatives, leading to criticism about how the numbers are reported. The government is planning to plant an additional 716 million trees in the coming years, supported by a funding commitment of $3.2 billion over 10 years.
Thyssenkrupp Steel Division receives positive financial outlook. Thyssenkrupp AG, based in Duisburg, Germany, has received a positive expert opinion on the financial needs of its steel division. This assessment confirms that the division can continue operations. The company has secured financing to maintain liquidity for the next 2 years. Earlier this month, Thyssenkrupp reported a write-down of €1 billion, approximately $1.04 billion United States dollars, due to weak demand and competition from Asia. Additionally, Thyssenkrupp is pursuing a joint venture with Czech billionaire Kretinsky while exploring other partnership options.
Engine fire on Russian plane in Turkey. On November 24, 2024, a Russian-made passenger plane caught fire after landing at Antalya Airport in Turkey. The Sukhoi Superjet 100, operated by Azimuth Airlines, had 89 passengers and 6 crew members on board. Everyone was safely evacuated without injury. The fire started in the left engine due to a rough landing caused by wind shear. Emergency services quickly arrived on the scene, where flames and smoke were visible. The Turkish Transport Ministry temporarily suspended landings at the airport during the incident. An investigation by Russia's Federal Aviation Authority, known as Rosaviatsia, is currently in progress. This incident highlights ongoing safety concerns in aviation amid existing geopolitical tensions.
Trump advisor discusses national security transition. On November 24, 2024, Mike Waltz, a national security advisor to President-elect Trump, highlighted the teamwork between Trump's incoming administration and outgoing President Biden's team. This collaboration aims to present a united front against U.S. adversaries during the transition. Waltz mentioned ongoing discussions with Jake Sullivan, Biden's national security advisor, focusing on rising tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East. He cautioned that adversaries should not see this transition as a chance to create divisions. The article also pointed out potential challenges for Trump's cabinet nominees, including Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth, who are under scrutiny for their past actions. Senator John Barrasso emphasized the need for swift confirmations of Trump's national security team to ensure readiness on the first day in office. Waltz stressed the importance of working with NATO allies to address the urgent situation in Ukraine and called for negotiations to reach a resolution.
Israel and Hezbollah move towards ceasefire. On November 24, 2024, reports emerged that Israel is working towards a ceasefire agreement with the Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon. Axios reported this, citing a senior Israeli official. However, a separate report from Israel's public broadcaster Kan noted that no final agreement has been reached, as several issues remain unresolved. This situation highlights ongoing tensions in the region, where a ceasefire could significantly improve conditions for civilians in Lebanon.
Donation supports Bathurst Post Office restoration. A community group in Bathurst, New Brunswick, Canada, has received a $20,000 donation from the Sheila Hugh Mackay Foundation. This funding will help restore the historic Bathurst Post Office and convert it into an arts and culture center. The project aims to raise nearly $2 million in total. John Mann, president of the steering committee, emphasized the significance of this donation as winter approaches. Built between 1881 and 1886, the post office holds great historical value for the community. The restoration will provide a venue for events, art exhibitions, and performances, boosting community engagement and supporting local economic growth.
North Korea and Russia strengthen sports ties. On November 25, 2024, North Korea and Russia announced an agreement to boost sports exchanges in 2025. This agreement was made during a meeting in Pyongyang, where Russia's Minister of Sport, Mikhail Dekhtyarev, and North Korea's Minister of Sport, Kim Il-guk, signed a protocol outlining their plans for cooperation. This development follows increased diplomatic relations and economic exchanges between the two nations, especially highlighted by President Putin's visit to North Korea in June 2024. During that visit, both leaders discussed a mutual defense pact, raising concerns among the international community, particularly in the United States, Ukraine, and South Korea. The growing ties between North Korea and Russia, especially in military cooperation, have sparked alarm as North Korea has reportedly sent over 10,000 troops to Russia to support the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The recent agreement on sports exchanges is seen as a strategic move to strengthen relations and show solidarity between the two countries amid rising geopolitical tensions.
Renaissance Quebec celebrates 30 years of community service. Renaissance Quebec marks 30 years of making a positive impact in the community. This non-profit organization processes 30,000 tons of donations each year and employs 1,500 people. It helps 3,000 individuals find jobs through a successful training program. Customers appreciate shopping at Renaissance for quality items at affordable prices. CEO Eric Street Arnault highlights the importance of community support and sustainability. Last year, 1.7 million people donated to Renaissance, with expectations for even more donations in 2024. The organization continues to lead in the thrift shopping sector.
Canada Post strike disrupts lives of foreign nationals in Vancouver. A strike by Canada Post workers is causing major delays for foreign nationals in Vancouver, British Columbia. The strike, which started on November 15, 2024, involves over 55,000 postal workers. Many foreign nationals are waiting for crucial documents like passports and work visas. Stella, a Chinese national, traveled to Vancouver on November 13 to renew her U.S. work visa but has been stuck for nearly 2 weeks. Daily expenses are over $100 for accommodation and food. Others, including Haoyuan, worry about losing their jobs in the United States due to these delays. This strike emphasizes the impact of labor disputes on public services and the difficulties faced by those relying on timely postal services.
Australia maintains home loan rules amid economic concerns. The Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, or APRA, has decided to keep a 3% serviceability buffer for home loans. This choice comes in response to high household debt and worries about a weakening job market. APRA's chair, John Lonsdale, mentioned that while inflation is easing, there are still risks to household incomes. Lenders must assess whether borrowers can afford loans at rates 3 percentage points above the current rate. Recent data indicates a slowdown in job growth, although the unemployment rate remains low. This careful approach aims to safeguard borrowers and the overall financial system in Australia.
Trump announces cabinet picks with historic firsts. President-elect Donald Trump has announced his cabinet selections, highlighting several historic firsts. Susie Wiles will be the first woman to serve as White House Chief of Staff. Marco Rubio, nominated for Secretary of State, could become the first Hispanic person in that role. Scott Bessent, nominated for Treasury Secretary, may be the first openly gay Republican cabinet member. Trump's picks include 8 women, which is double the number from his previous cabinet, but fewer than President Joe Biden's initial selection of 11 women. The current cabinet features 4 people of color, consistent with Trump's first term but lower than the overall percentage of people of color in the U.S. population. At 78 years old, Trump will be the oldest president to take office. Key nominees include Elise Stefanik, who would be the youngest United Nations ambassador, and Caroline Leavitt, who is set to become the youngest White House press secretary. Many nominees have experience in government or come from industries they will oversee.
Market response to new U.S. Treasury Secretary. On November 25, 2024, financial markets reacted positively to the appointment of Scott Bessent as the new U.S. Treasury Secretary by President-elect Trump. Investors showed optimism, resulting in a rise in bond prices and stock futures. The benchmark 10-year Treasury futures increased by 13 ticks, while the S&P 500 futures approached record highs. The US dollar weakened against other currencies, with the euro rising to about $1.0484. The Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar also gained value, increasing by 0.6% and 0.5%, respectively. Analysts expect Bessent's appointment to bring stability to the markets, given his strong background in finance and experience with notable investors. His approach includes gradual changes to tariffs and tax cuts aimed at boosting the economy. Overall, Bessent's selection marks a significant shift in U.S. economic policy, with potential impacts on inflation, trade, and deficits that could affect both domestic and international markets.
General Jennie Carignan advocates for women in combat. At the Halifax International Security Forum in Nova Scotia, Canada, General Jennie Carignan addressed the role of women in combat on November 23, 2024. As the first female Chief of Defense Staff in Canada, Carignan responded to comments from U.S. Senator Jim Risch, who questioned the effectiveness of women in combat roles. She highlighted the long-standing contributions of women in the military and asserted that they should not be seen as a distraction to national security. Her remarks received strong support from the audience, which included defense officials from various countries. This discussion comes amid ongoing debates about women in combat, reignited by comments from Pete Hegseth, a nominee for Defense Secretary.
Five-Star Movement breaks with co-founder Beppe Grillo. On November 24, 2024, the Five-Star Movement in Italy announced it has severed ties with co-founder Beppe Grillo during a 2-day assembly held in Rome. This decision marks a major shift for the party, which seeks to evolve from its origins as a radical protest movement into a more mainstream political force. Party members voted 63% in favor of removing Grillo from his role as guarantor of the party's founding values, a position he held since the party was established in 2009. Grillo, who had a contract worth €300,000, about $313,000 United States dollars, as a communications advisor, did not attend the assembly. The gathering also rejected a proposal to ban alliances with other parties, which could lead to better relations with the main opposition group, the Democratic Party. Tensions between Grillo and current party leader Giuseppe Conte have grown since Conte took over in 2021, with Grillo criticizing Conte's vision for the party. The Five-Star Movement, which received 32% of the vote in the 2018 elections, has seen its support ratings drop to around 11% in recent polls. This change could significantly affect the party's future electoral strategies and its ability to compete against the right-wing coalition led by Prime Minister Maloney.
UK Minister highlights cybersecurity at NATO conference. On November 25, 2024, UK Cabinet Office Minister Pat McFadden spoke at the NATO Cyber Defence Conference in London. He stressed the importance of Britain and its NATO allies staying ahead in the new arms race involving artificial intelligence. McFadden warned that Russian cybercriminals are increasingly targeting countries that support Ukraine. To address these threats, he announced plans for a new laboratory for artificial intelligence security, with initial funding of £8.22 million British pounds, approximately $10.3 million US dollars. The minister pointed out that cyber warfare is now a daily reality, constantly testing defenses. He called for stronger cybersecurity measures among NATO members and businesses to safeguard citizens and systems from these escalating dangers. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.